This Benjamin Mendy situation is truly getting out of control, and whilst I understand the gravitas and the sensitivity of the entire situation, I wanted to make this video not echoing some of the details that have been exposed about this case and, reiterating or regurgitating what's already out there, but rather focusing on the bigger conversation, right? A French journalist by Roman Molina has exposed a can of worms that I don't think the footballing world was ready to deal with, right? Not just about the Benjamin Mendy case, although he did express some extreme detail about those cases, but he even went on to talk about the wider corruption. And when I say corruption, I'm not talking about financial corruption. I mean corruption in terms of all forms of evil, right? That exists in football. He talked about players in the French league who get taken advantage of at a very young age and get sexually assaulted. This is not a conspiracy theory. You don't have to take your tinfoil hats out. It's real life. It's real life. I think where I would start with this is there is a bigger problem here. The Benjamin Mendy thing is the tip of the iceberg, and there is a bigger problem. There's a whole fucking sea of problems that we haven't even dealt with yet. And I think it's time as a footballing community that we stop shying away from difficult conversations and we start having them. Because I think what football fans try to do, and their way of justifying ignoring the bad things that happen in the world, is listen, I'm here to watch football. Football is my escape. Football is my entertainment. This is where I come to run away from the world's problems. And it's like, I get that, but it's an entertainment industry involving human beings. And what do human beings do? We fuck up. And human beings, in this case, have fucked up. And they happen to be footballers, but it happens in a lot of industries. And I think you can't separate certain issues from football. I think that's what I'm really trying to say here. So there has to be a conversation about sexual assault. There has to be a conversation about people being taken advantage of. There has to be a conversation about what happens in these industries, because we've all heard the stories in Hollywood. We've all heard the stories about people, having to give a little, to get an acting gig. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. They're not just conspiracy theories, man. This is real life. This is real life. I mean, of course, some of them might be a little bit wild, but the point I'm trying to make is there's a lot of evil and corruption that exists in football. And I think people need to learn that footballers are not cut from a different cloth. Footballers are human like everyone else. Their fart smells, their shit stinks, and they do go to the bathroom. And we need to learn these things. We need to learn these things, and we need to remind ourselves to stop putting these guys on pedestals. Yes, you can praise someone's footballing ability on the pitch. You can criticize their footballing ability on the pitch, but them, the person, them, the human being, you don't know them until you've met them and spent an extensive amount of time with them. And most of us haven't. Most of us don't have that privilege. So it always makes me laugh when people go, oh, this football player is a great person because he donates to charity. Donating to charity doesn't make you a good person. That doesn't make you a good person. Anyone can donate to charity. I can donate to charity. Well, I can't because I'm broke and I'm making videos out of my bedroom and I still haven't moved out of my parents' house. But, that's besides the point. When I make money, I can donate to charity and pose to be a good person. You can donate to charity and pose to be a good person. That's not what being a good person is. That's not what being a good person is. Especially if you flaunt, like, look at me, everybody, I donated to charity. You know what I mean? And I'm sick of it, because I think the real thing that bothers me is if you read these stories and it touches you, if you read these stories and it makes you uncomfortable, if you read these stories and you feel so much discomfort that you can't even talk about it, imagine what the victim feels. Imagine what the people who are going through this feel and how much damage it causes. You don't need to be a psychologist to sympathize or empathize, I don't know which one's the right word there, with their pain to some degree. Imagine your whole life now, you can't go to bed without having a nightmare about a certain footballer laying his hands on you. It just isn't right. It just isn't right. And I think the bigger problem here, apart from the sexual assault itself, is the fact that there's a lot of footballers who get away with it. There's a lot of footballers who get away with it. There's a lot of footballers that we will never know did the most heinous things. We'll never know because it gets swept under the rug. But what can you do, man?